Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Mr. Clarke here, and I'm going to talk about a different way of using charcoal, all right, a different way of drawing. So, the nice part about charcoal is that it's a powder, right, and it's really, really messy, or at least I think that's a nice part, okay? And one of the neat things about charcoal is that because it's powder, you can easily work from a grayed down surface and you can actually draw with your eraser instead of drawing how we usually would by adding material to the paper. We are going to reduce the material on the paper. Okay, this way of working is called reductive drawing. Okay, normally you work with an additive process where you add material to the paper. I'm going to show you how to reduce material to the paper. All right, so as you've seen, I've taken my condensed charcoal piece and I very lightly brushed it all over the my newsprint paper. Right, you can also do this by just grinding some charcoal on the sandpaper, and it gives you some dust, and then you can wipe around the dust. Okay. Once I'm done here, I'm going to take a piece of cloth or my a soft surface and just smear this around. You can even use your fingers. Okay. You can get different textures depending on what you use. Right. And we want to make this really nice and even. We want to make this a lighter gray. I might have gone a little too dark, but that's fine. Okay. Yours can be lighter than this. You'll also get a lighter result if you use a cloth or some paper towel instead of your fingers. Okay. All right. This is looking good. This right here, see this? This is why we don't use our fingers. All right. These are these marks are from the oils on my fingers, and it is going to be much harder to erase these out. So this is a great reason to be using tortillions or blending stumps or a piece of napkin that's been clamped together. Okay, all of those things will work. Right? And this thing even goes through and cleans up some of the marks I've made with my finger. All right. Um, so today I want to go over just drawing a simple box. All right. Not only are we going to talk about drawing reductively, but we're also going to talk about how to make clean edges as opposed to outlines. Right. So I'm going to, instead of using willow charcoal like I normally would, I'm going to use a hard eraser. And I can cut right into this grayed background because, well, it's powder, guys. Charcoal lays down like powder. And so it's really easy to draw into and erase as long as you didn't put too much down. Right? If I took this and just really started rubbing hard, very hard to erase. Right? Because I was gentle, I can achieve this. Okay. Now always, let's figure out where my light's coming from. My light's going to come from, let's go this way. Right. More on the top than on the side, but this is going to be my darkest, this is going to be my lightest, this is going to be my mid-tone. Right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my lightest, and I'm going to erase all this out. Right. You'll notice my eraser is a little different. I've cut my eraser in half. And this gives me this sharp edge. Right. If I used a normal eraser, I'd kind of have to guess where that edge is going to be, which isn't too hard, but I like using the one that's cut. Okay. So one of the most difficult things with charcoal is getting clean edges, right? As you can see, sometimes with the eraser, this stuff gets really clumsy, okay? So that process is all about just repetition. I'm going to go in and fix that area with my tortillion, just blend out the background again. And I can even blend out a little bit of the inside of this square, and I immediately tighten everything up. Right? It's not the tightest in the world. We're going to get it better, right? But it's a good start. All right, once I've got my lightest, I'm going to go for my darkest. I'm going to use this condensed charcoal, and I'm going to use the edge right here. That's what I'm paying attention to. I know everything in here is going to be dark, so I'm paying attention to the edge. Right. Sometimes when I'm using charcoal, I'll lean it onto a corner. I'll balance it onto one of these corners, and I'll move it along like a train. And that gives me really nice, clean, easy to make straight lines. The more I do it on the edge, the more it rounds out, and I'll have to switch to a different edge to get cleaner lines. Okay, this is generally how I get nice clean edges. Notice I'm not saying lines most of the time. I'm saying edges, and that is because real life things do not have outlines. They have edges where different values meet, and through the contrast of those values and color, you can see it. Right? Not because we're all outlined like Mickey Mouse. It's no good. Right? So right now I'm getting up to the corner of this box, and this corner is probably going to be the hardest thing because that's where three values meet. Right? I'm going to use the corner of my piece of charcoal, try to get it as precise as possible. Always go in there and blow things out. Now, I don't want this side to be jet black. I just want it to be dark. Right, so I'm going to go in with the tortillon, and I'm going to gray this down a bit. Notice how much it takes away. Raw condensed charcoal, untouched, is the blackest you're going to get. Okay, if you touch it, it will get lighter in value. Right. You'll notice how a lot of times when I get to the edge, I keep going like this. I like wobble my tool, right? And this helps. If I just, it helps clean up the line. If I just do this, right? If I really look closely in here, this is all super jagged, right? Because it's just one little piece, one little line, one little mark. But if I do this over and over again, if I wibble and wobble, it's going to be a sharper line because I've filled in the gaps of this texture. This texture here, when I move it, it creates a line. And it takes a while, and sometimes you mess up and you go over areas and you make it less sharp. That's why we have an eraser, guys. No big deal. I'm just going to go back and forth, and it's a push and pull. All right, you go in, you make something sharper. Oh, you messed up. All right, you go back, and then you redo it, and you go do that over and over again until you get something that's really clean. All right, really, really clean. Okay. As for these areas here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to worry about the background. I'm going to touch that up when we're done. Or I might move the corner of the box. I'm not sure. So I'm trying to line up this line with the corner here. Okay. Sometimes when you use a tortillon on something super dark, you've got to clean it off before you get the right tone of gray again. Let's not forget our kneaded eraser. It's great for just taking off a little bit. Right? And now that I've wiped some of that off, I can get that gray tone back with the tortillon that I used in the beginning to gray down my page in the first place. And as you can see, now that I've gone back and forth a couple of times on this edge, it's looking a lot cleaner, a lot sharper. Okay. Now, this edge right here, I'm getting rid of these lines, right? Because I want this value here and this value to be the same. Okay. So how do we define it? If those two values are the same, how are we going to deal with that? Well, I'm going to take my willow charcoal here, and I'm going to make the background darker. I'm going to pull a line like that, pull a line like that, and then I'm going to make the background darker than the square. That's how you're going to see it, right? I'm manipulating the background so you can see the object. This is how you get edges. This is how you eliminate the need for outlines. Okay, I can even do the same thing here. Clean up that line a bit. But I didn't really need to because I've got that gray. That gray is doing it for me. So I'm going to take a finer tortillon here and just kind of blend this out. I'm raising it. I'm going to use the side here. Pull it. Right. I'm getting rid of some of that intense, vibrant black. And now right in this corner here is where cutting this edge will be a good thing. Even then, it's a little too blunt. Okay, so we're just gonna. The willow charcoal is a really good tool for getting back that gray, that light gray tone. And then I'll hit this with the tortillon, and it disappears into the gray. Do the same thing here, get rid of these marks. Add a little bit more. Get rid of that bright outline that's happening right underneath my box. And I use this sharper tortillon when I need a finer point. Okay, this blending stump. I keep calling it a tortillon, blending stump. It's all the same stuff. There we go. Finally got rid of that roundness. Okay. The last thing I'm going to do here is pull this dark tone back out. It kind of blends out. I always want that contrast to fade into the background. You don't want it to hang right off of the object, because then it looks like a halo. And we're not making a holy box here. Okay, just a normal one. Okay, so I've got pretty sharp edges. This corner here is not my favorite, but I'd say this is pretty good. All right. Now, for today's assignment, I want you to do what I just did. I want you to cut your paper in half. I want you to make a box reductively, aka drawing with your erasers first off of a grayed down page. Right. Then I want you to make a box over here using the additive way, the normal way, you'd say, with an outline, and then you color everything in by adding the values. Okay, I want you to do both of these things, try to get them as clean as possible, all right? And then you'll have an idea of which process you like better, adding or reducing. All right, and that'll be today's check for understanding. Just post a picture of this. You guys will be good to go. All right, have a good day, guys.